Say in front of you. Hey.
Word up, word up.
We back. We back. We back. We back. We back again. Everybody in the back now. Everybody in the front now. We back.
Yeah.
All right. Then we'll go with the basis of what up, podcast land? It's your boy Bren'Tel. I Can't Afford a Great Podcast. Today we have Leonidas the Great.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, long time coming. He popped in for a visit. He's in town. Chopped it up like we always do.
Always.
And we got into a great conversation as usual. And we'll title it, what'd I just say? What'd you say? Get it.
Like and dislike versus right and wrong.
There we go.
Ooh.
Yes. And basically the conversation it started off in one place, but we got to the coded language.
Yes, that's accurate.
In which men and women hear things.
Yep. What happens from the man's mouth to the woman's ear?
Yes, and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah, because we don't want to get too personal, but
right.
Basically, because we were trying to in the previous conversation, we were talking in the living room, and I was saying like, you can say something like, I
don't like when.
Yeah, and then the way it's received was not what you said, and not even close to it. And Leonidas was just saying that he just said something, and it popped in my head. Just why the translation usually is broken up and it goes left, because it could be a situation where a person is conversating or ideas based in like and dislike, and someone else's in the same conversation have seen it. Their perspective is right and wrong.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now we have that basis laid. Go back to where you were.
So it's tough because to present the idea of I don't like a thing, whether it's something that was said, whether it's a food that was tasted, it's the appeal to the senses.
Subjective.
It always is. It always is. And that's why I think it's an easy point of argument. It's an easy point of debate, because it's not anything that changes the rule books other than the rules of that individual. So it's like, hey, look, I don't like this, and then through the course of dialogue, it'd be like, oh, well, I didn't like it because of these previous experiences. I never had anyone share their thoughts behind that behavior the way that you did. So you might learn to like a thing that you had previously not liked through the course of dialogue. But if that dialogue isn't ever given opportunity, because when you say, hey, I don't like it when, and then the person that you're speaking to says, oh, well, I'm not always wrong. And it's like, I know, because that's not at all what I said. We're not even talking, because right and wrong is objective.
Yes.
It's a completely different kind of dialogue. Right and wrong is saying 2 + 2 is 4. And if somebody comes along and says 5, hey, wait a minute, buddy. Put your fingers up and let's count them on your fingers, because this is an objective truth.
Right.
But to say that math is better than science, well, that's the object of subjectivity. And the same thing with like and dislike and right and wrong. If I can't say, yo, I don't like it when you do, or I don't like it when you say, and that just be accepted as me not liking a thing, it was unpleasant to one of my senses. If it can't be anything more than that, then at that point, the conversation even any conversation that happens after that, if it's based around something other than an individual's senses not being pleased, at that point, any conversation that happens is unfruitful.
Absolutely. Anytime you try to fit subjective into an objective situation, it's chaos.
It's absolute chaos.
What's going to happen is,
You're trying to put the square in the circle hole.
and what happens is, because you see this a lot on social media, where you see dialogue, where, all right, you said this certain thing had to be done, but just because it's a different case, no, we're going to move the goalposts.
Right.
That's what happens, is the goalpost gets moved whenever you try to mix the two into each other.
Right.
And that's what happens in relationships. Them goalposts be moving, you know what I'm saying? You remember that old commercial?
The whole game would change. It's like it ain't even a goalpost.
You remember when they was talking about basketball? That one commercial, it was in the 90s. It was like 92. And I think it was just Shaq commercial. But I think it was this Reebok commercial. And it was like 2020, the rim is 20 feet now, and it moves. You don't remember that? You don't remember
I
that?
need to YouTube it, man.
I'm at to find it. And that's exactly what social media is right now.
Yeah, and the flaw with social media is that it gives greater liberty to maintain a false identity. And that's what I think is what creates some of the issue with like and dislike versus right and wrong.
Right.
Is that it presents a challenge to who a person really is. Hey, look, you did a thing, you said a thing that I didn't like. This is a fact.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that you're a flawed individual, because somebody else might not be bothered by it. Somebody else might like a thing that I don't like. You can do the exact same thing with somebody else, and they might like it. But because of the fact that I don't like it, if we can't talk about that, then the conversation that we're going to have is going to be about you defending a false image. Because that's the only reason why you can't handle the fact that you did something that I don't like.
Right.
Because if you were prepared to deal with the reality of yourself, self-examination is a tough thing for people. The ability to look at yourself is a tough thing, and too often we use the term cognitive dissonance in a realm of talking about like spiritual depth and you know what I'm saying, trying to show somebody, trying to wake somebody up, and cognitive dissonance is more relevant in people not being able to identify character flaws. You know, if you tell somebody, hey, telling one lie makes you a liar.
Right.
Because either you're going to continue to tell that one lie, or you're going to tell other lies to support that lie. But until you reveal the truth of that thing, you are a liar. And if you can't say to somebody, hey, when you said that to me, you might have been just joking, but I felt disrespected and I thought you could have given me the truth of the matter.
Right.
And somebody else be like, oh, well, I ain't wrong because I didn't tell you. I ain't say that you was wrong, but just the way that you handled me, I didn't like it. Even if you handle other people that way, when it came to you handling me that way, you're saying that you're just playing. But let me make it plain. If that's how you play,
I don't play like that.
I don't play like that.
Damn, I don't play like
And
that.
I don't like it. And that's the end of it. The truth of the matter is, and this is why I learned not to take things personal, because usually when somebody tells me that I did something that they don't like, chances are they wouldn't like if anybody did that to them.
Right.
So I don't personalize it. I'll be like, oh man, either I can see what they're saying and be like, all right, well, I'm just that way, so I'm gonna probably do this again, so we shouldn't be in each other's space. Or that's what's up. That's the easy fix. I didn't know this kind of behavior bothered you because this is the way that I am. But this isn't something that has to happen every time that we together. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, those things together. You know, the lack of to be able to examine yourself, the inability to be able to truly hear what somebody's saying. Those are the things that I think create the greatest issue for effective dialogue. Because conversations still happen, because tempers flare, you know what I'm saying? Emotions rise, and dialogue has to happen because you have to come to some kind of resolve, but rarely does it address the issue that's at hand.
It's funny that you say that.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, the theme for this year on this podcast is effective communication.
Woo.
And it's funny.
Yo. And and I think the keys to effective communicating is you first have to have effective listening. I tell people all the time, effective listening is the first step to effective speaking. Mm-hmm. And if you aren't prepared to listen effectively, and it's more than just these memes that we see where, you know, old people don't listen to they don't listen to discuss, they listen to reply or something like that. You know, it's much more than that, because we're all guilty of that at one point or another. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to meaningful dialogue, like those with a significant other or a business partner, or mentor or mentee, you know, those kinds of dialogues. Yeah, those kinds of dialogues have to be they have to be respected enough to the level that you not only can articulate your thoughts and your ideas, but able to receive the articulation of another. Mm-hmm. And too many times everybody else just wants to get their ideas off, and that's what messes it up. And then even messes it up further when you get into like relationships that involve a significant other and things like that. So it's a beast.
Yes,
it's a beast, man. Because everybody says that they want it, but yet people aren't. They haven't developed the skill. I believe, like anything, it's a learned behavior. You know, it's such a thing as the law of practice, right? The more you do a thing, the better you get at it. I don't believe anything is free from this.
Right.
You know, the law of practice. If you aren't good at having dialogue, you need to engage in more dialogue. Mm-hmm. If you aren't good at listening, and more times than not, we don't know that we aren't good at listening because most of us think that we are. But it takes having conversations with some of the people and saying, hey, do you think that I'm a good listener? Or even when somebody says you aren't a good listener, we can't be like, yes, I am. Mm-hmm. You just don't be talking about nothing.
Yeah, man.
But, you know, when somebody says, hey, look, I don't think that you're hearing me, we don't get the opportunity. If somebody says, Leo, dog, last time that we was talking, man, I don't think that you was picking up anything that I was saying. I really don't have much right to be like, man, I got it. Mm-hmm. Because, well, how do I know that I got it? If the person that's giving it is able to identify based off of my responses, based off of my body language, based off of something, this person that is giving what they want me to receive has said, hey, look, I think you missed it.
Right. Then
I turn around and be like, nah, dog, I didn't. I got it. But that's what happens, though. Nobody ever misses it.
Right.
Nobody ever misses it. And this is where we ultimately miss it. Everybody thinks that we always get it. Nobody can be corrected. Nobody can be challenged. Like, it's a thing to challenge somebody anymore, man. Like, look.
It's that ego. The ego now.
It's fueled by so many things.
And I honestly, I feel like a lot of the issues that we have as far as like communication with one another, humanizing, things of that nature, it has a lot to do with social media. Mm-hmm. Because like, just on a dehumanization factor,
right?
Like you get desensitized to certain things,
mm-hmm.
and then now I don't see you. I can see you. I can see you. He got shot in the street. Right. He's bleeding. Right. But that's my fourth video like that. So it doesn't affect me like it used to.
Yep.
So if I see it on the street, that shit happen every day, B.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And the same thing happens with dialogue, because you'll see folks on the free app, and they be like, if you don't like what I'm saying, don't comment. And I'm the one that'd be like, hey, if I don't like what you're saying, I will comment, because it's a free app, first of all, and two, I'm curious as to how'd you come to this thought pattern. Like,
Yeah, show your work.
Yeah, because more times than not, and I even told one of my buddies this, we had got into a talk on spiritual lines and religion and stuff, and I said, look, man, I'm not trying to convert you.
Hmm.
I'm just curious what makes you say what you say about your thought pattern.
Right.
You know, and that there, that type of dialogue is almost impossible to have because one, most people can't support their thoughts because oftentimes people's ideas and opinions are shaped by their immediate surroundings. Um,
The big piece
mm,
is depending on where you're having the conversation.
fact.
If you're having it in the comment section, most people, I don't behave like this, but there are most of the people online. They're still in the phase of I have to put on that show because everybody's going to see this.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're reacting with ego, you're listening with ego, and you know what I'm saying, you're communicating with ego, and that makes the conversation, you know,
Ugly.
yeah, unproductive.
Yeah, very much so.
So, like, yeah, we talk about relationships too. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Ego is like the barrier to a lot of breakthroughs for relationships.
Right.
So,
And the ego is a weird thing, man, because um, you know, we use it as a defense mechanism. You know, we have to be able to do things and speak with a certain level of confidence, but we allow our ego um, to to puff ourselves up.
hmm.
And that's what makes self-examination hard because often through self-examination you realize that you're not as great as you think that you are. You know,
Hmm.
that's the whole goal of self-examination. Like, man, there's some other areas that I need to work on, some other things I need to get better at, some things about myself that I don't like.
Right, right.
You know, that's what self-examination brings about. And so when you intentionally avoid that, and again, this is a learned behavior too. You'll learn to avoid self-examination. This is how we see 45-year-old adults that still
Act
think.
like they 20. Hmm.
We see it all the time. We see it all the time. And when we was growing up, age ain't nothing but a number was a way for us to get with an older chick. But now you look at these adults and you realize age isn't anything but a number because you're 43 years old, but yet you look at the way that your brain works, man.
Right,
You're a
right.
juvenile still. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And it's because of not being able to look at themselves. Anytime that somebody said, "Hey, man, you know, you are this, and you know, you got this from your dad, and you know, he in prison, and da da da." Somebody might not be in prison, but they still got a prison mentality.
Mm.
Being grown, avoiding a slammer, never having any interactions with the law, but because of self-examination, they do think like they daddy did, and they do behave the way that they daddy did, and they don't even like their own daddy, and they can't change their pattern of living because they are unable to look at themselves. Anytime somebody says something to them about themselves, the other people are always wrong.
Hmm.
And that's so unhealthy, and we have a society who has embraced that kind of mentality. Is like, you know, nobody can tell me anything, and and sometimes that's a good thing because you have to know yourself. But when people aren't examining themselves,
Hmm.
they
You got to do the work to get to that point.
you have to, man.
Yeah.
You have to. And if people aren't willing to do that work, again, that's just a reflection of the inability to dialogue. Because even if I don't think what you're saying about me is true, what makes you say that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I don't think that I'm a whatever you might say that, but you do. So I've done or said something that caused you to feel that way. Let's talk about it.
That comes from like actually caring though,
Yeah.
and wanting to better yourself, or
Mm-hmm.
actually caring what somebody else has to say,
Mm-hmm.
or caring that you actually the wrongdoing that you are, you know, bringing upon somebody.
Right.
So, um,
Cause
like I said though, like I said upstairs, dog, like a lot of times people's characteristics, their personality traits
Mm-hmm.
determine, you know, how effective they're going to be in communication.
Right. It's like their responses are almost programmed based off of
Exactly.
the personality type. But then, you know, we got to ask ourselves, um, the altering of our personality types. Because even though some of the things that I think, feel, and believe now are some of the things that I thought, felt, and believed, let's say 10 years ago, I'll say that I'm a better person than I was 10 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. And it's because of some of the dialogues that I've encountered over those years. It's not all through just being able to look at myself. It is from some people being like, hey, man, I saw something that you posted online.
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of conversations where somebody hit me up on my phone and be like, hey, I wanted to talk to you about something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, that's what's up. What would you like to talk about?
Right.
And even still, like I said, when they would say things, if I still didn't agree with it, I was interested enough to be like, look, let's hear what you have to say about it. Because one of us has this thing mixed up. You're saying that I'm a that. I'm saying that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
What you saw something that I'm telling you right now. I wasn't demonstrating that character trait
Mm-hmm.
because I don't like that character trait in me. I'm able to look at myself and know that I don't like to behave that way towards people. So if you say that I behave that way towards you, I'm not saying that you don't feel that way. I'm saying I know I don't behave that way.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about it.
Right.
This is the event that you're talking about. This is the moment that you're talking about. This is what was going on when I did and or said that. This is what was happening with me. This is the kind of day I had.
Humanize the
I
situation.
mean, you have to bring it back to that, because emotions is something that we all deal with.
Mm-hmm.
We all have them, and so oftentimes the emotions is what sparks us to like or not like a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's also an emotion that'll cause us to think that it's a right or a wrong thing.
Right. Right.
So self-examination is essential. It's essential. It has to happen. Anybody who's afraid of self-examination, I think that they are more of a scary individual um, in our society than those who may have issues that they struggle with, but they're able to identify.
I think it's deeper than that. I think, dog, I base everything on because I see ego. Ego is just your insecurities dressed up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
With a suit on it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all ego is.
Yeah.
So what you do is when you self examination is holding that mirror up and you ain't got that suit on.
It's a naked.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a lot of people they don't. In order to grow, you're gonna have to go through, situations that make you uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's that self examination for people who find solace in their ego. That's uncomfort. You know what I'm saying?
You could watch
That's
it on them.
discomfort.
Yeah.
So you try to avoid that because that's the growth. That's that uncomfortable feeling that you feel in that self examination is your growth.
Absolutely.
So going back to the buddy being 45 and still acting like that, yeah, that's the result of the self examination is that discomfort
Mm-hmm.
that makes you grow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And just that simple truth alone, the inability to self-examine, that person will never realize that growth never happens in the comfort zone.
Never.
But because someone is unable to self-examine, that truth will never become a reality for them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll swear that they are growing because they're getting older.
Mm.
And they might even acquire some things. I mean, you work your job 10 years, you're subject to get a raise, you know what I'm saying? You're subject to be able to live in a better position, but that doesn't mean that you have become a better person.
Absolutely.
But they'll attach it to that.
Yep.
They'll attribute it to that. They'll say, hey, 10 years ago I was here and now look at me. And it's like all that you've done is you've maintained a working career and you managed to level up and you make more money than you used to make. But if you put a bow tie on a pig, he's still gonna roll around in the mud.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like when you take the ability to look at yourself away, I can't see any other opportunity to grow as an individual. I don't know how it would happen because if you can't look at yourself again, anything that somebody says to you, they're gonna be wrong.
You gonna posture up.
Yo, because again, we're protecting that ego, and it's that suit, and it's like, man, do you see how good this suit is? I mean, I've been around people in, like, you know what I'm saying, $2,000 suits, and they like to let you know in one way or another, dog, this suit is custom made. And it's like, all right, that's cool, but you still have a garbage character though. Like, you can afford a nice suit, that's dope. I'm not even
But
going front.
morally, you're broke.
And I'm not even
You
going
know what I'm
front,
saying?
dog. When I can get $2,000 suits, I'm gonna wear them. When I can open up the inside of the double breasted jacket and it says, you know what I'm saying, specially made for Leonidas the Great, you know, yeah, I might flash it. But before I can get to those suits, I want to make sure that my character is proper. You know what I'm saying? So when I put on that $150 suit, I walk in and they don't even know that it costs $150 because of the way that I'm wearing it, because of the way that my character is able to,
Exude.
I mean, it fills out the clothes.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's necessary, man. Because even still, getting back to the original theme, when somebody says, "Hey, look, 45-year-old man," I don't like the fact that you still wear your pants down beneath your butt. And that 45-year-old man is going to think that somebody's hating. And they're going to think that they're not wrong for doing it. And it's like, yo, that's the truth. You aren't wrong for doing it. But this person that's expressing it to you, they have a different concern for you. For one, 45 years old, why are you still wearing your pants down like that, sir? What's going on? Because I see it, man. Like, I don't even know how people can sag these skinny pants, these skinny jeans, G. But they do, and they're not all 18, 19, and 20 years old.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But if a man who behaves that way approached a woman that he was attracted to, and she said to him, "Sir, you have a lot of good things going for you. You have strong facial features. I like the way that you talk. You smell good, you know, all that stuff. But the way that you wear your pants, I really don't like." And at that moment, he has an opportunity to say, "You know what? Either I want to be in your life and I'm going to pull these pants up, or you tripping, shorty. I talk good, I smell good, I look good. Ain't no man perfect. You know what I'm saying? You looking for a perfect man." Nah, she just said one
This
thing.
is me.
I've been this way before you met me, shorty. You know what I'm saying? Like, all that stuff. But it's like, nah, all she did was just express one thing that she doesn't like. And if that doesn't cause hurt, harm, or danger to you or somebody else, if you truly want this person, why not fix a thing that they don't like? I mean, I think that it's easier to be like, yo, I'm gonna find out all the things that you like, find out all the things that you don't like, and I'm gonna do the things that you like. Like, I think that's a sign of an effective relationship, even if it's not an intimate relationship. For example, son, you've been my man for a long time. A long time. Dog, it's to the point now to where I'm not even sure of what you don't like because of how hard I focused on the things that you do like. Because I wanted a healthy relationship with us from the beginning. As soon as I was like, yo, I like son a lot. I was like, let me figure out what's it gonna take for not only him to allow me to be close to him, but for him to want to be close to me.
Right.
That's a matter of, yo, the things that he likes, I need to make sure that I can provide that. Because if I give him a bunch of the stuff that he doesn't like, he's not gonna want to be around me. He's not gonna let me be around him. This is something that has to be taken into account for anything to be healthy as far as interactions between humans. I mean, even outside of human interactions, dog, my puppy, she knows what I like. And you know what? For a healthy relationship, she does more of what I like than what I don't like. And you know who wins? Both of us.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But when we as humans get to the point to where it's like, you don't like it, so what? or we think that somebody's saying, you right and I'm wrong. Like on Matilda, I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong.
Right.
But that's the way that the ego responds, though. Somebody like, oh, you think your ego's bigger than mine? Well, your ego isn't big enough to tell me not to do a thing just because you don't like it. And we ruin relationships just because we aren't willing to stop, or we aren't willing to start doing a thing just because it's going to make another person happy.
Right.
And it's like, I don't see why it's not worth it. I don't understand why it's not worth it. If I can make somebody happy by changing a thing, and it doesn't put myself in danger, doesn't put nobody else in danger. Like I said, I'm not violating my moral code. I'm not becoming a different person. My character is not being altered. What keeps someone from not honoring that request? Me, I don't get it. Because I think that it's easy. That's not somebody taking advantage. I think that's us just I think that is the epitome of reciprocity. Because we all want that. If we are ever in any setting, son, if we're ever in any setting and somebody does something that we like, one, not only do we want the liberty to be able to express it, but we want it to be considered.
Right.
We want it to be. We want to be able. We want the freedom to say what we don't like and why we don't like it, and we want the people that we're expressing that to be able to respect it enough to honor it in one way or another. At least we're going to have some dialogue about it, or something's going to change. But that's the essence of us expressing our likes and our dislikes. So everybody has. We have all been on the end of expressing what we like and dislike, but when it's time for somebody to tell us about something that we've done that they don't like, that's when it seems to be hard to understand the concept. And that's what I think is the disconnect. Is we can, none of us have an issue making the request. It's when the request is made of us that it becomes unreasonable.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Boundaries. With beginning relationships, how important it is, how important is it to you in laying out your boundaries, and how do you go about it?
Well, I think it's very important, because boundaries are our defense mechanism, and we only put them there.
Or is boundaries our comfort zone? Is it a mixture of both?
It's a mixture of both, because the reason why it's a comfort zone is because we're safe there, right? So when we establish these boundaries, is to say, hey, look, if you go beyond this, I'm gonna feel taken advantage of. And when we put those boundaries in place, it's often not to keep people away. It's really a litmus test to say, how hard are you willing to try to get close to me?
I'm sorry, boundaries and standards for a relationship. That's what I mean. That's
Okay.
what I mean by it.
Standards are weird. Standards are weird because oftentimes our standards are formed based off of, for lack of a better word, based off of fictional situations. Most people who have a standard don't end up with that standard. And it's because they don't realize sometimes what you want until that thing is in front of you. It's like, oh, I didn't even know that I didn't care that shorty couldn't cook until I met this woman who does all these other things, but her kitchen skills are garbage. I always thought that I wanted a woman that could chef marvelous until I met this woman who does everything well but chef. Now I realize my standards have changed. Cooking is not that big of a deal as I once thought. But the reason why they thought that cooking was a big deal was because, well, they was raised and they saw their mom cook for their dad. They saw their granny. They saw their aunties cook.
So it's basically based off a previous experience.
He's never even had a woman cook for him, but he thinks that that's something that is of utmost importance because he saw it. Shorty might grow up and, her standard is, tall, dark, and handsome. Well, it's because she got tall, dark, and handsome man in her family, or or even a negative thing. Her mom might have been abused by a light skinned man. You know what I'm saying? Those kinds of things shape our standards. But if she comes across a light skinned brother who's gentle with his words, who's kind with his touch, who's able to look her in the eye and make her feel a certain kind of way, do you think it's going to matter that he's not tall and dark skinned if he makes her heart move? You see what I'm saying? So she'll say, "Oh, I don't like light skinned men." Well, it's because she's never encountered a light skinned man that made her feel the way that this brother might. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So standards. I think you should always have them, because it's a nice skeleton to have. But I think that we should be loose enough with our standards to realize that sometimes we might not know exactly what it is that we want until that thing truly is in front of us. Because when we have our standards, if our standards were sufficient, then we wouldn't have 35, 40-year-old grown men and women who are single in alarming numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think I've ever recalled a time since I've been living where like 35 and 40-year-olds was like the primary dominant unmarried class of people. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to be married, but we have these standards, and those standards is what's keeping us.
Standards, and you got a bunch of people who are jaded. You know what I'm saying? And like, I wouldn't say it's the 35-year-old group, right? It's because they were once in their 20s, right?
Right.
The 35, like that's my. So I was 20 when social media hit the scene, right? I think that has a lot to do with unrealistic expectations.
Sure, that's fair.
And puts you here now. You're like, yo, I'm learning things to be different.
But we learning to be different.
No, learning things to be different, meaning what I believed. That was unrealistic. Just me personally. With standards and expectations. Okay, when you really are in that relationship and it's real, you look at it like, okay, what am I willing to make do with? That's taking that skeleton of standards and putting meat on the bones.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that, looking at it from a realistic point of view and perspective, you're like, okay, yeah, she don't have this, she don't have that, or she has this, and this, and it's just one thing. I can make do with that. From your 20s, you don't think like that.
Right.
So you go through all your 20s fucking up, and then you learn it at 35, and now you want to be married, and you got all of this baggage, emotional baggage that you have acquired through the years, and you have a proper perspective, but you got the baggage in front of your perspective, so you still can't clearly see it.
Right. And the way that you deal with the baggage though is by
letting it go,
because the only way for us to be able to unload is, again, through effective communication,
self-examination.
Yo, I mean, like, one, we have to be able to say, damn, I am still hurt, or I do still miss, or, man, one time I went through the deepest, darkest depression of my life. Didn't know until I came out of it.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was still laughing, I was still smiling and joking, and I was still the life of the party. But when nobody was looking, dog, like, I was tormented on the inside. I was just like, yo, why am I so sad? You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't just the baggage. It was like yo, all the conversations that I wanted to have that I was unable to have, that stuff takes a toll on you too. When there's things that you want to say, when there's things that's getting at you and you want to release this baggage, because sometimes we carry baggage because we feel that if we let somebody see what's inside our suitcase, they're gonna hold it against us. And that's a huge detriment, because it's like, yo, I'm tired of carrying all this stuff, but who's willing to help me with this load?
Unpack.
Yeah, who's willing to pull one of these bags that I'm dragging, man? I'm gonna miss my flight. I'm not even gonna get to the gate because all this stuff that I'm carrying, and all I want to do is say somebody help me, but I'm scared because you guys are gonna then take advantage of me. And again, this is not only are we protecting our ego with that, but it's because we've been so damaged through the lack of communication. We've told somebody before we didn't like something they did, and they told us that we was calling them wrong, or we've asked somebody to do this different, and they thought that we was trying to judge them, and
Going in the bag.
yeah. So
Putting
it's
that
like,
in the bag. Yeah.
it's like, man, now when I get to a point and it's like, dang, I'm really digging shorty, or I'm really interested, and I want to just get to know somebody, and all I want to do is just try to have a conversation, and should I or should I not? And then at that point, you're not even keeping it real. We are no longer keeping it real when we want to talk about a thing that we don't talk about. And we maintain that fraudulence because the fear of poor communication. What if I say this and they respond this way?
And I get judged.
Yep. What if I say this and they think that I'm saying this? And so we hold on to the baggage. And it's like, it gets heavy. And
I just, to go back to that baggage point where, like, the expression of how you're feeling. Like, as black men, we don't normally communicate that with one another.
sure,
Now, I think that's something that we need to work on. But
I do too.
being able to call or have a homie and be like, yo, this and this is going on, son. Let me download.
Right.
Let me download this shit right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That will that will put you in a situation where you can actually drop some of the baggage off.
Word.
And I think that has a lot to do with it, where you're not communicating because you don't want to feel judged. You don't want to look weak.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I say this all the time. I've said this publicly. Like a couple years ago, I made a vow, like to myself, like, son, like, yo, you have to embrace all of the emotions in life.
Yes.
Not just angry and happy. You know what I'm saying? Because society tells you as a black man, these are the only two you can have.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not okay for you to cry. It's not okay for you to be sad. Embrace everything, because if you're not embracing your full range of emotions, you're not living a full existence in life.
Right. And you're being fraudulent to yourself.
Absolutely. But are you really? Because if you don't know what you don't know.
Fact.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're
But-
being real as you can be.
Right.
But
And-
that goes to self-examination.
It does.
And unlearning things that you've been taught.
Which is a hard thing. Unlearning is difficult. Because usually when we have to unlearn a thing, we're unlearning trusted knowledge. Something that we picked up from a source that we trust allowed us to adopt something enough to the point to where we can call it learned information. So to unlearn it, we have to not only forget what we've been taught, but then we have to question the source that we learned it from. Because now I'm finding out something that I once considered to be a truth, or something that I considered to be a way of living. I've now encountered something that shows that to be incorrect. And so now with unlearning, not only do we have to go through the process of truly forgetting that, but then we have to look at, okay, what else did I grab from that source that I now have in question? And again, that brings us to the same point of cognitive dissonance. It's like, man, it's been this way for my whole life. You know,
Right.
it can't be untrue. This has to be the way that it is because I've seen it this way my whole life. Just like the story of the woman who grew up, and when she began to have her own family, she cut the ham in half like her mom did. And her daughter would like, mom, why do you cut the ham in half like that? And the mom was like, well, your granny did it that way.
Tradition.
The little girl went to Granny and said, well, Granny, Mom cut the ham in half before she put it in the oven. She said that she got it from you. Why did you do it? Granny laughs and said, well, it's because I used to have a small stove. And so a whole ham wouldn't fit in there. But Mama's still doing it.
Wow.
All because her whole life she saw it that way. And now, thankfully, the little girl asked Granny, baby girl ain't gonna do it that way no more. And baby girl saw her mama do it her whole life. But the only reason that she was doing it that way because she saw her mama do it that way. Well, her mama was doing it that way for a purpose, for a specific reason. And when you have to unlearn that, because I bet you the little girl's mama is probably still cutting the ham in half now just because it's part of her existence now. But you don't have to cut it in half because you have a bigger stove than your mom did. But you a 45-year-old mom now. Every time you make a ham, you do it this way.
Wow.
And that's what we get when we have to unlearn. It's like, all right, man, we have to not only forget this way of doing it, we got to trace this back and see what else might have we picked up. Because if this is something that is worth questioning, is there something else? And that is further self-examination. You go a couple layers beneath the surface when you unlearn a thing. Because you have to ask yourself, what did I pick up from this source that I now am considering unlearning?
Right.
And it's not a friendly thing, man. Self-examination is ugly. It's ugly. I weep when I sometimes spend time with myself. As much as other people might be impressed with me, dog, I have so many areas that I need to grow in. You know what I'm saying? And it's just things that I realize on a day to day. It ain't like I take 1 weekend a month and sit down and
with the notepad.
Yeah, no, it's something that you have to do day to day, because that way, one, it helps me sleep with a clear conscience. How did I behave towards people today? I sleep well because of that, but at the same time, it's not only do I try to treat people well, but was there anything that I could have done better? Right? I just made a post not too long ago. If you can't find something nice to say, you find a nice way to say it. Everything isn't flattering. Everything isn't pleasant, but was I rude? Was I disrespectful? Could I have said it another way? Was it the right setting? You know what I'm saying? All those things are part of, I think, character development. I believe in such a thing as unlimited potential. I think that none of us will ever reach our max, but I think that none of us ever try to reach our max.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But unlimited potential, it only happens through self-examination. It only happens that way, and that is in itself. Back to the original point is we have to be able to look at ourselves and say, what do I like? What do I not like? And not call ourselves right or wrong. Dang, when I look at you, Leo, I don't like when you this. Now, I don't like it. That's it. About myself. Now, if you keep doing this thing, doesn't mean that you're wrong. Doesn't mean that you're right. But I think if you don't change this behavior about yourself, you're not becoming your best version of yourself. And that's I think is still the same conflict that you have with self-examination. It's that like versus dislike. It's a real dichotomy, because it's like, how do you love yourself but examine yourself to the point to where you say you don't like things within you?
Wow, I think we end on that though.
Yo,
that was a mic drop.
Man, it's been a long time coming, man. I'm glad that we was able to get in here, man, and
Tell me your socials.
The what?
Your socials.
Yeah. Leonidas, the great GR8, Leonidas, number 8. I mean, if you for real, you want to just throw it in Google, the way that I got my handle is going to pop up. You know, I'm on the first page, all 10 results. So, Leonidas the Great, GR8, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I just started a Triller profile. I'm about to start shooting these videos, man. Chance the Rapper done got on there, so he tends to make things pop when he puts his name on the thing, man. So Triller is pretty cool.
Well, your project.
Exceptional Skills. I'm gonna be releasing it in May. I gotta get an exact date because I'm still waiting to get some hard copies pressed.
Okay.
It's gonna be closer towards the end of the month, probably like the 20th or something like that. It's 16 tracks, no features, and it's a real it's the exhibition thing. It's to demonstrate exceptional skills. You know, that's the reason why I did no features. That's the reason why I did 16 tracks. In a day where folks thrive off of singles and EPs, I wanted to exaggerate the consistency of flow. Out of the 16 songs, only 2 are 2 verses long. All the rest of them are 3 verses long. You know, it's predominantly, you know, my pen is better than yours, but it's still creatively expressed. You know, it's not just random bars, and then, you know, a catchy hook. It's, you know, the songs are structured. You know, it's a project that I think captures what I feel is the essence of MCing. It's not just well crafted rhymes; it's song structure as well. I think that my rhymes are dope, but I think the way that I put the songs together helps to illustrate the rhyme skill. So it's a lot of fun. You know, I'm excited to give it to y'all, man. I love the culture.
You're gonna be streaming or
yes, absolutely. It'll definitely be on all streaming platforms. You know, iTunes, Apple Play, Tidal, Spotify, all of that. And again, the handle will be the same, Leonidas the GR8. But yeah, man, y'all get with me. You know, I try to drop knowledge. But you gotta be a good listener. You know, my gimmick is I make music for intelligent listeners. And that's not to take anything away from folks that like to listen to trap or that like to listen to, you know, anything other than that. I never consider myself a conscious rapper, but I consider myself a rapper with the conscious, and I take accountability for my words. So I believe rap is a contact sport. I remember Kendrick said that, and like that was like one of my favorite statements he ever made. Like, yes, because I'm here to get physical. You know what I'm saying? Like this rap thing, I really love it. I don't play on the mic, but at the same time, it's strictly to elevate the craft. You know what I'm saying? Like at one point in time, if you wasn't good at rhyming, you didn't rhyme. I mean, it was a long time before I let cats hear me spit. But once I was good, I was good. And with this project, man, it's just saying, look, man, if y'all want to be whack rappers, you can, but just know that I'm out here and my job is to help extinguish you.
Son, I was just listening to the Jazz Club remix the other day.
Yo.
We burned that.
Oh my goodness. So that was what, like 2002, 03?
It was 4. Yeah, we did it in like 03, the end of the 03, but it didn't come out till 04.
Yeah, man.
We go back.
Hey. Yo, double digit years. Double digit. And I've been a fan ever since, yo. You know what I mean? That's why I've always it's always been a privilege to me when you allow me to have influence, when you allow my voice to you know, resonate in your life in any capacity. Because I've been a fan from the beginning, man. So eventually becoming a fan of your music, did I become a fan of you as a person, man. So I really appreciate you, everything that you do. I'm inspired, even if I don't say it as much publicly. I want to take that time now to say I'm inspired by you, man. So keep doing what you're doing. And, you know, hard work pays off. The law of eventuality. You know what I'm saying? It'll come eventually, man. That's that's the secret. That's another secret too, man. The process. You gotta trust the process, but you gotta stay in the process. You there, son.
Only you can stop you.
Hey, that's it, man. How long we been saying that? Double digit years, yo.
Yeah,
Only
man.
you can stop you, man. I'm encouraging. I'm inspired by everything you're doing, man. Thanks for letting me share with the I Can't Afford to Quit podcast,
No problem.
and all the listeners, man. But yo, it's real. It's real. Like versus dislike, right versus wrong.
That's crazy. All right, now. With that being said, hey, podcast every day.